Monday. See you then.
It's almost like betting the stock market. The good part about it is you can take a bet today. In 2 or 3 days, if you nail that bet, you can be able to cash out, Joe. Like you just hit a heavy stock. Like you go into Sun Microsystems or whatever it's called, and you buy into it. In 3 days, you can sell it for a massive profit. Do you understand these markets, Joe?
I do understand the markets. It's amazing how some of the predictive markets seem to have the answers before the test.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
8 3-minute rounds. The gloves are 10 ounces. And Anthony Joshua weighs like 250 pounds. So I'm not really sure how this is going to end up happening. But this is one of those. Normally, I don't give credit to the Paul brothers. And, I give them credit for being great on social media and creating a lot of buzz for the sport. I give him credit for getting in the round with Anthony Joshua. This is not like a Mike Tyson fight where Tyson's 60 years old.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
TreVeyon Henderson and a few others have the Pats at 9-2. Is excellence back in New England, Joe?
Excellence is back in a big way. Mike Vrabel came back into town. Drake May has come out of his shell, and TreVeyon Henderson has come out of, I don't know where he was. He was in obscurity, but he had 3 touchdowns on Thursday night.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Let's take a look at a couple of narratives here and play a good game of fade or not fade. And first up, well, the idea that the Chiefs are going to put it all together and win the AFC West, well, that's absolutely gone. Absolute fade from this point on, Donnie, with the Chiefs. Their 10-year reign is over. It's done with.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Time Decisions. I'm your host, Mike Blewitt, in for Kevin Walsh, as he takes a couple of days with the family before he gets into a run of shows here during the Thanksgiving holiday. Happy and healthy Thanksgiving to you and yours. We got a lot of action tonight all across the sports world, and we'll have a bunch of guests coming in to help us out with that. We have 15 NHL games, 9 of which will drop the puck at 7 o'clock. So lots of action on that board. We'll get to all the spreads in the next segment, perhaps later this segment, but certainly with George Kurtz coming up in the next couple of segments. Beyond that, we've got 9 NBA games, one of which has already tipped off. That's the Pistons at the Celtics. The Celtics a short favorite, 58-57, very early third period, with the Pistons having the lead at halftime, 58-57. It's a 15-2 Pistons team in Boston, but they are underdogs tonight with the slight lead right now. How about NCAA basketball? If you think those 26 games aren't enough, 36 games already in the books today in college hoops, but 36 more to be played. Some have already tipped off. They're underway, some in the second half, and many more will tip off during this show and certainly on In Game Live with Scott and Gabe a little bit later tonight. So I've got George Kurtz. I've got Cam Stewart a little bit later in the show. We'll do some Packers work as well at the top of the hour. But let's get to some big news that broke right before the show aired, and that's actually, of all places, Major League Baseball. Dylan Cease headed to the Blue Jays on a 7-year, 200. Forgive me for looking down at my notes, but this just happened. Right-hander Dylan Cease agreed to a 7-year, $210 million contract with the Blue Jays. One of the premier strikeout artists in the league. He's got over 1,000 strikeouts in the last 5 seasons, averaged 221 strikeouts per season since 2021. More than anybody, including Zach Wheeler, Kevin Gossman, a teammate now, and several other pitchers with 1,000 strikeouts. Very durable as well. He's entering his age 30 season, so it allows them to commit to him long term. Padres obviously saddled with other huge contracts. Probably didn't. I'd imagine Cease didn't think that was going to get done, but 7 years for $210 million is a pretty damn good payday. And Dylan Cease goes north of the border. So for the team that lost very late in Game 7 of the World Series, they add some firepower to the rotation. Dylan Cease headed to Toronto. Let's get back to the action at hand, and we'll start it out with the NBA. So the Pistons right now up 61-59. Some box score news on that one. Right now, leading in scoring, you've got, no surprise, Cade Cunningham, 16 from the floor. He's got 19. Jalen Duren with 10 now for the Pistons. Jaylen Brown paces the Celtics with 19 points. Peyton Pritchard with 11 right now. Again, that one was a point and a half to right now. You have the Pistons laying 2.5 as it's back and forth now. It's back and forth in this game, so it's right around a pick 'em 1.5 back and forth with the Celtics now up 62-61. We'll stay with the hardwood slate now, and we have the Knicks who travel to Charlotte. Knicks will be 6.5-point favorites. 241.5 is that total. Knicks, like, I'm a Knicks fan. It isn't pretty right now, but you hope they can get on the road and get a win here. Defense has been a bugaboo for the Knicks, but I think they step up tonight and get a victory heading into the Thanksgiving holiday. How about the Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the OKC Thunder? The one-loss Thunder will be laying 9.5 in this contest with a total of 226.5. So, look, Thunder are on a roll. We had a shocker last night in the NBA where the Wizards, one-win Wizards, get a victory over the Trae Young-less Hawks. They had been the Trae Young-less Hawks, but they were 11-point favorites going into that game, and the Wiz get the victory. Do we have any big upsets on the board tonight? Would Minnesota be one of those? That would be a shocker if they go into OKC and get the W. Let's move over to Toronto. We're just talking about Toronto in MLB. We'll talk about Toronto now on the hardwood, where the Pacers will travel there and be 10.5-point dogs. So Toronto laying a lot of points. How about the Pacers to keep that one a little closer? 233.5 is the total. That one tips off in just about an hour, same as the Wolves and Thunder game. Memphis Grizzlies taking on the Pelicans. The Grizzlies will be 3.5-point favorites. 234.5 is the total. It's a tricky one, right? Both teams having their struggles. The Ja Morant drama just hounding the Grizz and the Pelicans. Might have repeat performance by the Pelicans year in and year out, unfortunately. We got the Rockets taking on the Golden State Warriors tonight. Warriors will be a short favorite, 2.5. They're laying to the Rockets with a 224.5 total. I think that is the lowest total on the board tonight. It is. So lower scoring game compared to some of the others we have. Obviously, defensive-minded teams, and that total expected to be low. Given that those two teams, considering the firepower they have with the lowest total on the board, yes, it tracks, but shouldn't we expect a little bit more than 224.5? I certainly do. How about the Spurs? No Wemby, but the Spurs will be taking on the Blazers. 1.5 is the spread. Blazers laying it. 240.5 is the total. Next one, we got the late game tonight will be the Suns taking on the Sacramento Kings. Kings are home dogs here, getting 4.5 with a 233.5 total. That's your 8 games that have yet to tip off, with obviously the Pistons and the Celts going at it with 8:39 left in the third quarter. Celts have opened a 6-point lead, now laying 3.5, but that game's been back and forth. 1-point game at halftime. Teams trading buckets throughout the night. So that's your full NBA board. Let's get to a little bit, as we'll have George coming up in the next segment to go these games, but I want to set them up for him. We have the Nashville Preds taking on the Detroit Red Wings, and that one is the Wings are favored, laying The puck line at 1.5, and then the Preds are plus 132 on the money line with a 5.5 total. I'll say this about George last night. We only had the one NHL game last night. That was the Stars at Oilers. And we had two people on with us talking hockey, but George nailed it, stating that there's no way he would bet an under in a Stars Oilers game. And that game was 4-1 quick. So 4 goals by the Stars in the first period, and that paced to an over in that game. So George has great insight into hockey. He's a longtime partner of mine on this network and knows hockey as well as anybody on here. We have great hockey guys. Gabe, Cam Stewart will be on a little bit later in the show as well. We'll talk some football with George as well. But take a look at some other games here. Rangers, Hurricanes. Hurricanes favored there. 5.5 is the total. We have Bruins at Islanders. Islanders favored. We have Philly at Florida. Florida favored. All of these puck lines are 1.5. Winnipeg at the Capitals. Same, 1.5. The highest total there is Winnipeg and Washington at 6.5. Blues at Devils, 1.5 with a total of 5.5. Sabres at Pens, same puck line, 6.5 is that total. Flames at Lightning, 1.5, 5.5 total. We did the Preds and the Red Wings. Leafs at Blue Jackets, again, 1.5, 6.5 total. Wild at Blackhawks. Blackhawks are lone home dog here. 5.5 is the total. We'll get to the rest. We got Sharks, Avalanche, Canadians, and Utah. A couple more. We'll get to them when George joins us after this.
Oh boy, oh boy. This is not going to go away, folks. This betting scandal that involved Terry Rozier, that involved Jonte Porter last year, and then obviously with Chauncey Billups getting involved and stuff like that, this is not going away. This is not good. And this is not the end of this scandal.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They loved Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, the aforementioned experts here to join us on Game Time Decisions. We'll go through all the hockey action and certainly get his opinion on some NFL games. We talked a little bit about the Chiefs and the Cowboys last night, but George, let's start off on the ice. One game last night, which was the Stars just throttling the Oilers. You had that one right. You said that would be a high-scoring affair anytime the Oilers are playing. you expect goals, but 8-3, a shocker, with Dallas just crushing them after Edmonton's long road trip.
Yeah, the Oilers are the gift that keeps on giving, right? You can bet the over pregame, you can take the in-game overs. They're not playing very good defensively. I mean, Stuart Skinner's catching all the grief because, well, let's face it, he's not a very good goaltender. He's not bad, but he's an average goaltender. But he's getting no help from his defense whatsoever. You look at the tape of a couple of those goals. There are Dallas Stars sitting in the crease, but you can't see an Oiler in the frame. It's like, what is going on here? So yeah, the Oilers have some problems there. I said they're always an over bet anyway, but you can just feel it last night. I was no surprise, Mike. I mean, no Mikko Rantanen. They scored 8 goals, and their best player was suspended.
Yeah, rightfully so. It's kind of amazing, though, George, that he's a 2-time offender of an egregious hit in 1 week, and he got 1 game for it.
And by the way, that was automatic. They didn't. It was the automatic. They
Yeah.
had no choice but to suspend them. It wasn't the NHL
Yeah.
suspended him. It's in the actually
Right.
in the CBA. You get 2 game misconducts in a row, you're automatically suspended. So they really didn't
Yeah,
suspend him.
within a 41 game
Within a
span. I
41
read
game,
it last night.
it's idiotic. He should have gotten suspended for the Romanov hit. He put Romanov out with 5 to 6 months, but they said, oh, maybe his skates might have clipped with Mayfield. Still put his hands on the guy and threw him into the boards. Then he did the same thing the next game. The guy wasn't, he wasn't out hurt. He did, I don't know if he broke his nose, but certainly got a nice little gash on top of his nose there. He came back to the game. But, the NHL, Mike, if that was a 4th line player and not Mikko Rantanen, he ain't playing. Right? He would have got suspended after the Romanov hit, but it's Mikko Rantanen player. NHL has two different sets of rules for star players, and I guess also Rans.
Yeah, 5 to 6 months shoulder surgery for Romanov. So real bummer for the Islanders. All right, let's focus on tonight's games. We got 15 games going. Let's just start. Let's actually run it back. It's the late game, but I wanted to talk about Dallas coming off an 8-goal performance. They take on the Kraken. They are one of the only 2 of the 15 games do we have a home dog, and Dallas is one of those road favorites. So at 8 goals last night, and then they travel to Seattle. What do you expect there?
A little weird that you have 15 games tonight. Why is Dallas playing back-to-back? I said the NHL and their scheduling is just amazes me. You couldn't give Dallas and Edmonton another night off here and have everybody else play. No one's playing tomorrow. So it is what it is with the NHL. Normally, Mike, and when I say normally, I'm betting Seattle tonight. Right? It just comes down to that because back-to-back nights, they're going with the backup goaltender tonight, Casey DeSmith, not Jake Ottinger. Rantanen is back. Obviously, 1 game suspension. He'll play tonight, but it's a small bet, all right? I'm getting plus money with Seattle. It's a back-to-back situation. Maybe they got all their goals out of their system against Edmonton last night. I'll take a shot with Seattle tonight. But like I said, small play, nothing big here. It's just because the back-to-back backup goaltender. We'll go with the Seattle Kraken.
All right, let's go top of the board. We'll try to get through as many of these as we can. Rangers taking on Carolina.
Rangers are a different team on the road than they are at home. Carolina is one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference here. They're not great, but one of the best here. I'm going to take the plus money. You know me, Mike. They call me Captain Chalk, right? Because I always take the favorite here. But I'm going to go with the Rangers here. Once again, not a big play, small play. If it was in the Garden, I would not be taking the Rangers. They just, like I said, why they don't play well at home but play much better on the road is beyond me for a veteran team. And we're now, almost 2 months into the season here. But we'll take a shot with the Rangers on the road. Jonathan Quick, by the way, he's out. He's on IR. So we know we're going to get a good dose of Shesterkin here.
Okay. Bruins taking on the Islanders, not too far from where you and I live on Long Island.
Not as far at all. A little closer for you than for me here. Bruins have beaten the Islanders twice. All right, once in overtime, once in regulation here. Islanders not scoring goals of late. Only scored 1 goal over the weekend. All right, so they're having trouble putting the puck in the net here. Once again, I'm going to take the plus money here. Go with Boston. I want to take the under as well. It is at 5.5, and we're not getting a great price straight up, plus 100 here. Don't think we're getting a lot of goals scored tonight. Islanders, until they start scoring again, I'm going to have a hard time betting them here. Taking Boston to win this game.
All the puck lines at 1.5, by the way, folks, and every total at 5.5 with a couple of exceptions, which I'll note as we go through the games. Flyers taking on the Florida Panthers in Florida.
Florida, Matthew Tkachuk, by the way, is skating. He should be back within the next week, I would think, for Florida. So they're getting some of their injuries back here. Philadelphia, one of the more positive surprises this year. I said I can't take the Flyers. All right? I know I took 3 straight dogs here. I'll make Cam Stewart very happy. Woof, woof, dogs are barking tonight, but I'm not going to take the Flyers here. I didn't touch this game, but if I was, it would probably be the puck line more with the Panthers than anything else here, but I left it alone.
Okay, Winnipeg at Washington tonight.
This is an easier one, right? Winnipeg is struggling. Connor Hellebuck is out for about maybe the next calendar year, somewhere around New Year's. He'll be back, knee surgery there. They're going with a backup at Mike Comrie. They weren't playing all that well with Hellebuck in net, more or less Comrie. This is a much easier choice. Go Washington here. You're getting a good price, minus 152. I thought this would be higher, Mike. I thought this would be more parlay material here. But minus 152, I'm willing to lay it. Take the Caps.
How do you think that? So the Devils take on the Blues tonight at home. How do you expect the Devils to react with the long-term injury to Hughes?
This is every season. Hughes gets hurt every season. It's not like they don't know how to handle it. They know what's coming. There was just a weird one, right? Something in a restaurant, he's whatever. Yeah. But it happens every year with this guy. Such a shame because he's a great player. So it's not good. They've been a bit of a mess. Maybe they've turned things around. Beat Detroit the other night here. I'm going to go with the Devils again at home. If it was in St. Louis, I'd probably be more interested in the Blues here, but give me the Devils.
And we got the Sabres taking on Pittsburgh Penguins in Pittsburgh.
Here's an over for you, all right? I'll take Pittsburgh as well, but I'll go with the over in this one as well. Jarry's back tonight. He was on IR. They sent out Silovs is not starting. Jarry's your goalie again for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Over in this game. You want to take Crosby for an anytime goal, or Malkin for by the way. I like any of those bets.
And that one is one of our higher totals at 6.5. Last one before the break, Flames taking on the Lightning in Tampa.
Calgary can't score. Tampa Bay, even though with all their injuries, they're playing well here. Of course, they're going with the Lightning. You want to take them straight? You want to take them on the puck line? Or maybe you want to put them on a parlay. But we'll take the Lightning over the Flames.
All right. How about the Flames to score very little? They under 5.5 total. More with George. When we come back, we'll talk some NFL.
Oh boy. This is not going to go away, folks. This betting scandal that involved Terry Rozier, that involved Jonte Porter last year, and then obviously with Chauncey Billups getting involved and stuff like that, this is not going away. This is not good. And this is not the end of this scandal.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, back with George. We're going to get off the ice for a couple of minutes here, even though there's a ton of action there, 15 games. We got through as many as we could, and I'll keep you updated as the puck drops on a few of them in about 5 to 10 minutes. But we're going to talk about tomorrow's games. I've got Jimmy Christensen coming up in about 10 minutes to talk Packers-Lions. So with George, We'll kick it off with the Cowboys, his Dallas Cowboys, taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. They have not played each other on Thanksgiving in 30 years, George. So that's pretty interesting. There's a lot of talk about bonanza that this game will see. Expectations of highest regular season viewership of all time, 50 million viewers potentially. And forget all of that. Both of these teams are fighting for their playoff lives. The Chiefs, KC, 8 of their last 10 to the under. The total is 52.5. The line has been waffling a little bit between 3 and 3.5. So while KC is playing to that under, Dallas is 7-3 to the over in their last 10, obviously because their defense was horrendous for the first half of the season. But here's where I'm at. When they last played in 2021, and I understand lots of players have turned over, but Dak was there and Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs defensive coordinator, was there. Dak went 28 of 43, 216, no touchdowns and 2 interceptions. CeeDee Lamb was limited to 3 of 14. I just think Steve Spagnuolo is going to have the Cowboys number when it matters. I expect it to be lower scoring and the Chiefs to get the win. I think 3.5 is a key number. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 3-point game, but I'm going to play this one to the under.
Yeah, I'm not sure I care about them when they played 4 years ago. That game was in Kansas City, by the way. So there was a kind of slog, if I remember correctly. It wasn't really all that offensive at all here. But different teams. I mean, Pickens wasn't there for the Cowboys. Lamb was more of a rookie than anything else. So we'll chalk that up to all that. That being said, I don't think tomorrow is going to be a slugfest. Well, oh my God, they're going to score 70 points. Don't expect that at all. I think it's going to be very similar to a type of game that the Philadelphia Eagles game was. 24-21, 24-20. The Cowboy defense, you mentioned, Mike, is not what it was a month ago, where it was, it was a joke, right? Where they're going to give up 35 points every game here. They fixed the problems there. They're not great, all right? They're not, but they're at least average now, which is important because the offense is still above average here. But I think Spagnuolo will keep things in check here. I do. I think I'll still take the Cowboys. I'll take the points here. Maybe Mahomes doesn't play well. It's not much of a running game there, which should help the Cowboys make them one-dimensional here. But as I told you during the break, Dak at home against the NFC East is a little different than Dak against non-NFC East. Those numbers are not generally all that pretty, especially in a game that is an important game. For all intents and purposes, this is an elimination game. Whichever team loses is likely done.
Even though you and I think the Chiefs are really good, I don't see how they can come back. If they fell to 6-6, they'd have to rip off 5 straight. It's just going to be hard. Their schedule is not that light for the rest of the year. They're a dangerous team, clearly, if you get in. They still have to play the Texans, the Chargers, the Broncos. I can't guarantee that they'll sweep that and just play like the Chiefs of old. So, when you look at the team totals, too, the team total for the Chiefs is 27.5. The team total for the Cowboys is 24.5. It just feels too high to me. I'll be surprised if the Cowboys end up scoring 26 or 27 points tomorrow. That's just me. So let's go to the Bengals and the Ravens. Ravens laying 7 points. And that another one where I think the total is a little high to me at 51.5. But my number one bet in this game, George, Joe Burrow over 36.5 pass attempts. He's hit it in 9 of his last 10 in 2024 and in both of the Ravens games in 2024. So I think Joe Burrow is going to come out slinging it. I think 7 is a lot to lay to a divisional opponent when we've seen the Ravens offense struggle in the manner that they have, especially the last 2 weeks.
I think the under's the best player in this game. 51.5. You just said it. The Ravens, they couldn't score against the Jets. I don't care how bad the Bengals defense is. The Ravens couldn't score against the Jets. Burrow hasn't played in 2 months? And no T. Higgins tomorrow, right? He's got the concussion. Yeah, Jamar Chase is back, of course. That's great. And he's going to get a truckload of looks, right, and targets here. That might be a way to bet well here. Take Jamar Chase's numbers here. I'll take the under, though. I just don't see what makes us think this game's going to be, once again, 35-30. It's just not going to be that, at least not until Lamar Jackson proves that he's back to being Lamar Jackson, which right now he's not. Do like the Ravens to win the game, however.
I love a kicking prop. Tyler Loop over 1.5 field goals made tomorrow. He's hit that in 4 of his last 5. 3 field goals each in 4 of his last 5. Thank you, George. Happy Thanksgiving.
oh boy, oh boy. This is not going to go away, folks. This betting scandal that involved Terry Rozier, that involved Jonte Porter last year, and then obviously with Chauncey Billups getting involved and stuff like that, this is not going away. This is not good. And this is not the end of this scandal.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, we are back on Game Time Decisions. A full hour to go. Lots of games happening and about to tip off or drop the puck. We'll keep you posted on those all throughout the game. But we wanted to start this hour talking some gridiron. So we got Jimmy Christensen in here. You find him on X at Jimmy_CO8. So we're going to talk some Packers-Lions because that's the game that's going to kick off our Thanksgiving holiday in earnest. I mean, this show really does, but tomorrow is when the turkey will be served, and I'm sure drinks will be flowing at certain people's houses, and football will be on. So, Jimmy, let's just start, since we got a little bit here to explore. Packers are a mercurial team. They are near the top of the NFC with a 7-3-1 record. They're in front of the Lions for the time being. They're behind the Bears for the time being. All of this has the opportunity to change in the next 48 hours. But as somebody that's covering the Packers in the manner that you do, what do you feel is the biggest pain point for this team right now, and why people are scratching their heads at the lack of consistency on offense?
Yeah, there's a lot of avenues to go that way, but I would say the biggest one to point at is just the offensive line. We made some changes going into the year. Elton Jenkins now out for the season at center, moved from left guard to center. We brought in Aaron Banks, who before the last 2 games was kind of a disappointment for the contract he got. And then we had Sean Ryan at right guard. He's moved to center now. So it's been jumbling around. And then even last game, we saw Anthony Belton he was splitting carries with our first round pick from not this draft, but the one before, Jordan Morgan. They were splitting snaps, and then Belton took over. So it's just constantly churning down that offensive line. We should have our 5 set now with Belton kind of solidifying that right guard spot. But even with him there, the play is just not to what we expected. We've seen a drop off from multiple players, including left tackle Rasheed Walker. So biggest pain point is that, because that's slowed down our run game and Josh Jacobs incredibly, because he has to break 2 tackles in the backfield just to get 1 yard. And LaFleur loves to have a run dominant offense, and it just hasn't been there this season.
Yeah, I can assure the Packers they've been pretty efficient on 3rd down. So even though totals haven't been great, They've been good on third down, and it's been able to at least keep opposing offenses off the field. Emmanuel Wilson looked good in the last game out, so
Yeah.
they have some depth at the running back position. So, all right, I hate starting off with a negative question like that, but I think it's sort of burning for a lot of NFL fans. Like, geez, I thought the Packers were going to be dominant. I thought they had an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl, and I still think that's possible. They're not playing their best right now, but I still think they have the talent to do it. So let's just focus on tomorrow's game. They are a short underdog to be expected. They're playing a big divisional rival on the road, and that divisional rival is 7-4 on the year. They're coming off an explosive second half against the Giants. They narrowly escaped defeat in that one, but as somebody that resides in the New York area, watching the Giants blow a fourth quarter 10-point lead is par for the course. So expectations for tomorrow, a huge game, obviously, and there's a lot on the line here for both teams, for the division, for playoff positioning, for their playoff lives. It's important for both teams.
Yeah, my expectations is honestly just a dogfight. Like, we know Dan Campbell and the Lions, regardless, he has, I don't know how he does it, but he has the trait to get, you could be on your, like they are now, third, fourth, fifth string cornerback, and somehow they can still get that defense playing at a high level. The offensive line, even though they're banged up, the center's hurt, Penny Sewell's hurt. I believe one of their guards is, again, they're all, everyone at this point in the NFL is battling an injury, but with the Lions, you can look at their injury report and be like, oh, it should be a little bit easier. It's never the case. We remember last year when they had pretty much a starting defense on their injury reserve and still had one of the best records in the NFC. So I completely expect a dogfight, and hopefully the offensive line can kind of step up a little bit. They have Aiden Hutchinson, obviously, is a threat with the pass rush. They have McNeil playing, moving from the inside over to outside as an edge rusher, who is a serviceable starter there, but still we should be able to protect Jordan Love with a competent offensive line. So my big thing is protect him. And I'm looking forward to see how the Packers adjust to, we've seen from the Eagles game and the Vikings game, teams love to blitz on us. You pressure Jordan Love, and that's when his mistakes happen. He's been pretty good the last couple games. And I don't expect the Lions to do anything except that. Put the pressure on Jordan Love. You know the run game isn't what it should be. Make Jordan's life kind of a nightmare, and you should have success. But it all goes on to our highly paid quarterback, and if he can perform well, which he has this season, only 3 interceptions on the year. So he's been holding those silly plays we saw from last year kind of in check.
Yeah. And I think you're right with the Lions and their ability to overcome the injuries. The Tampa game a few weeks ago, they had everybody out, and they were able to lock Baker up. Baker didn't have a good game. They constantly pressured him, and I think they just – but there's also there's an element to this too of like a cat's 9 lives. How many lives do you have to escape during an NFL season? And the NFC is really interesting. The Rams have clearly played from wire to wire thus far. The Rams have played the best football in the NFC, but it's not like they've distanced themselves by 3 games, right? The Rams drop 1 game. They're going to be tied with Seattle potentially at the top of the division. So, all right, in terms of a pace, we expect a dogfight. This 2.5 makes a lot of sense as a line. 48.5. I think it was 49.5. It's come down a point. Your expectations for scoring and maybe the people that can put their stamp on this game offensively.
That one's tough because the best groups of both of these teams right now are the defense. Like the Lions, their offense they do well, but you look at the Eagles game, just like the Packers struggled against them, the Lions struggled against them. The Giants, it took them a little bit to get clicking, but it really is just the best of both worlds, best of both teams playing each other. The Lions are first in explosive plays per game. Packers are first in the amount of explosive plays they give up, over 20 plus. First down yards per attempt, Lions are first, Packers are second in what they give up. So it's like, it really is the best units are trying to eliminate right now the worst performing of the team. So I'm leaning towards the under on that. I think it's going to be kind of a grime it out, Dan Campbell style for his team, and LaFleur loves to run as well, and he's never going to give up on it. Even if it's not working, he's going to pound the rock. So my personal leaning is, I would say, an under on 48, 49.5.
Yeah, I mean, these passing props are not particularly high. 237.5 is the line for Jared Goff, and historically he's been awesome at home. He has his most explosive passing performances in that dome. And Jordan Love's just at 228.5. Rushings are Jahmyr Gibbs at 69. Obviously, you'd really want to look at Jahmyr Gibbs' combined number of rushing and receiving if you're going to bet him. But Josh Jacobs at 57.5. You know, when you start to look at this, and you and I probably both leaning towards an under, ironically, I just got through a kicking prop, but I think that's something you're going to want to look at as well. These kickers could play a huge role. Jack Bates had a huge kick at the end of the game for the Lions just a couple of days ago, and that might be the case here. You and I talked during the break. The Packers have had kicking issues. They've rotated through a few kickers. It's going to be really important that they get on track in a game like this.
Yeah, McManus should be healthy this time. We saw that last week. He had a couple field goals. He's been battling that quad injury. They had Harversick on. They just released him today, so they are all in on McManus now. So there shouldn't be any more controversy the rest of the season. But quad injuries tend to linger, so we'll see.
Great stuff, Jimmy Christensen. He'll be with us next time the Packers play a huge game like this. I don't know it's going to get much bigger, but thank you, Jimmy. Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh boy, oh boy. This is not going to go away, folks. This betting scandal that involved Terry Rozier, that involved Jonte Porter last year, and then obviously with Chauncey Billups getting involved and stuff like that, this is not going away. This is not good. And this is not the end of this scandal.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Yeah, thanks to Jimmy Christensen. He was on with us talking Packers. He's the host of Pack a Day podcast, and he's a writer for Packer Report 66. So thank you to him, giving us some perspective on the Packers as they take on the Lions in a huge one tomorrow. Now it is time for Target Player Props. It's an exercise we have every week here on Game Time Decisions, trying to get ahead of the market, understanding that some of these player props are not yet posted. But this is where we would be aiming in the prop marketplace. I've given you a couple already tonight, but those props are already out. Those are for games tomorrow. For the weekend games, We still have a little bit to go before they post these. And we're going to start it out and maybe an unlikely fashion. We have a Jets wide receiver. What? Yes, this is what we're doing. Tyrod Taylor and the New York Jets taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Home game for the Jets. John Mechie, a recent trade from the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to go over on his receiving yards. Why are you doing that, Mike Blewitt? Because of the following. He had 45 receiving yards at New England, 65 receiving yards at Baltimore in his last two games. Both of those were without top wideout Garrett Wilson. That remains to be the case. The Falcons are allowing 138 rush receiving yards per game to wide receivers and have allowed an opposing wide receiver to go for 70-plus receiving yards in their last 5 games. He's the number one target right now with a bunch of players hurt. Week 8 versus Miami, Jalen Waddle had 99 receiving yards. In Week 9 at New England, Demario Douglas had 100 receiving yards. Week 10 at Indianapolis, Alec Pierce, well, that one was in Berlin, but Alec Pierce, 84 receiving yards. Week 11 versus Carolina, Teteroa McMillan, 130 receiving yards. And Week 12 at New Orleans, Chris Olave, 70 receiving yards. So all of that adds up to us really wanting to take a hard look at John Mechie going over receiving yards. The Atlanta Falcons, you talk about the Green Bay Packers being a mercurial team. The Falcons, the hardest team to bet on in the entire league. So the way I really try to attack Falcons games and what we do here at Game Time is let's just take a look at some props. You want to bet your B. John Robinson rushing and receiving props? Great. We like John Mechie to go over. We'll keep a close eye on what that line is when it comes out. All right, next one up. We've got Bashal Tutin, anytime touchdown. Bashal Tutin, the running back from the Jaguars, are going to take on the Titans. It's a road game. And I'm getting weird vibes about that game, like potentially. Here's the reality, folks. I host in-game on Sundays. I've done it for the last few years. And I watch an incredible amount of Titans football. And they've been the worst team during that period of time. However, they did punch back on the Seahawks last week. They did fire their coach, Brian Callahan. And since Mike McCoy has gotten there in the interim spot, it's been a little bit better, a little less in the way of penalties, trying to protect Cam Ward a little bit more. And they came all the way back and actually covered that game, 30-24 final. It was never really in question, but they did cover that game late, and they might have an opportunity to hang with the Jaguars. But where we think you can take advantage of it is that really picked up some carries from Travis Etienne. So here's the stats for you. Titans have allowed 16 rushing touchdowns this season. That's the third most in the NFL, and have allowed an opposing running back to score in 9 out of 11 games this season. Tutin has 3 rushing touchdowns this season, all coming inside the 5-yard line. And Travis Etienne on the flip side has only had 1 touchdown inside the 5. So they are weaving him into the game plan. It seems at least a short-term role is for him to grab those carries down inside the 5-yard line and get you an easy anytime touchdown. So that's Bashal Tutin. It's been a look for all the warts that I think the Jaguars have. They have talented players on offense. Brian Thomas has been banged up a lot of the year. Etienne is talented, and Tutin is a really viable rookie. Do they both coexist beyond this season? That remains to be seen, but both are weapons in this offense to help out Trevor Lawrence. All right, next one up. We've got Jacoby Brissett. A lot of guys. I mean, you're seeing a theme here on target player props today. These are not players that were starting at the beginning of this season. So we're trying to take advantage of this market where it's maybe not ironed out yet where these props should be. And we got Jacoby over 1.5 passing touchdowns. He's thrown 2+ passing touchdowns in 5 out of 6 games. He did at 6, he had 2. At Green Bay, he had 2. At Dallas, he had 2. At Seattle, he had 2. Versus San Francisco, he had 2. And then last week against Jacksonville, ugly game, just the 1. But they've been Tampa may be without Baker Mayfield. That remains to be seen. But Teddy Bridgewater taking all the snaps right now. Tampa has allowed 19 passing touchdowns this season, sixth worst in the NFL. Allowed 6 opposing QBs to throw at least 2 passing touchdowns, including the last 3, Drake May, Josh Allen, and Matt Stafford. Now, to be fair to Tampa, that's kind of a murderer's row right now. 3 of the top 5 MVP candidates. So it's probably not as much shade on Tampa, but that's what's been going wrong with Tampa the last few weeks. Yes, they've been hurt on offense, and last week was a struggle, but a lot of points too. The Rams blitzed them last week, and despite having a lead a couple of weeks ago at Buffalo, they just collapsed defensively, and Josh ended up having 6 touchdowns, 3 throwing. So there you go. Jacoby Brissett is our next one. Got one more here. Let's see how much time we have. I want to make sure we get through all of it. It's Chris Olave over receiving yards. So why don't we do this? We're going to hold it after the break and tell you why Chris Olave is yet another player we targeted. We dropped his name in during the John Mechie portion of this segment, and we'll explain to you why we think Chris Olave is a good one. Can Tyler Shuck be the conduit for us winning a player prop? Can he? Can he rise above his 8-point fantasy performance last week to help us earn some money this week?
Oh boy. This is not going to go away, folks. This betting scandal that involved Terry Rozier, that involved Jonte Porter last year, and then obviously with Chauncey Billups getting involved and stuff like that, this is not going away. This is not good. And this is not the end of this scandal.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, let's talk Chris Olave. They're going to take on the Miami Dolphins this week. I mean, there's been a few games, to be honest. A few games the last couple of weeks that are not, we're talking about the Chiefs and Cowboys breaking 50 million in viewership. That's not going to happen with the Saints and the Dolphins on Sunday at 1 p.m. Let's just be honest with one another. But that's why SportsGrid exists. We're going to extract value out of this game for you, our viewers, our fans, to make sure that you have some level of interest in that game. So here's the deal. We like to go over the yards for this reason. He's gone over his receiving yard prop in 2 out of last 3. Tyler Shuck has started averaging 77 receiving yards per game. Week 9, the prop is 57.5. He hit 57, so he's right on the number. That was at the Rams, too. Week 10 at Carolina, the prop is 61.5. He goes for 104. And then at Atlanta last week, week 12, 68.5, 70 yards is what he hit. So he just scraped past that one. So he's a half a yard from hitting it all 3 times. They had a bye week in there as well. Miami has allowed 5 opposing wide receiver ones, which Olave is, to have 70-plus receiving yards in a game. Michael Pittman, 80 in week 1. Garrett Wilson, 82 in week 4. Tet McMillan, 74 in week 5. Ladd McConkey hit the 100 mark against them when they played the Chargers in week 6. And then week 11 versus Washington, Deebo Samuel hit 74 receiving yards. Look, there are moments when it's difficult to trust everything that's going on with bad teams. The Saints are 2-9. They're headed towards potentially having the number 1 pick, and they have a rookie quarterback, albeit a 26-year-old rookie quarterback, but a rookie quarterback in the mix there. They ran it. They threw it 45 times. That's something I'll never understand. And granted, desperate times come desperate measures. But if you're in a situation where your rookie quarterback that started 3 or 4 times is throwing the ball 45 times, it's not a recipe to win. It just isn't. We see it with guys that are elite quarterbacks when they're rookies and some guys that flame out. I don't know what Tyler Shuck will be. I frankly don't know what the Saints' long-term plan will be, because it's not like this quarterback class that's coming out is everybody's favorite. There are lots of guys that are going to be potentially vying to be that number 1 pick. Do the Saints feel like either of them are a sure bet to be better than Tyler Shuck long-term? That's a hard question to answer. They got Kellen Moore. This was a team that you knew going into this year was going to get worse before it gets better. They benched a quarterback, and now they're doing their best here. We think Chris Olave can get you that receiving prop. But a difficult situation for a lot of the teams at the top of the board that might need QBs. Some don't. Giants will be near the top of the board, and they feel they're settled, at least for now, with Jackson Dart. But there's other teams that'll be up there too. The Raiders, the Jets, the Saints, and you're going to have a couple of other teams that might be looking around as well. But there's it's hard to say in a quarterback class like this that there'll be 3 or 4 surefire first rounders. It doesn't appear to be the case right now. So let me get you some updated scores right now. We've got in the NHL, the only game that got off to a flying start was the Lightning, up 3-0 over the Flames just 9 minutes into that matchup. So we'll get you an updated line on that one. And it is, let's see if I can find it there. 4-0 already. Tampa just scored again with 7 minutes left in the first. So that puck line is 4.5, and the total is 8.5. So we had a 5.5 total in that game. It's already up to 8.5. We're just past halfway through that first period. When we come back, we're going to have Adam Kaplan talk through a lot with us. We got obviously 3 games tomorrow. We've got a big Eagles-Bears matchup on Friday, and Adam having a lot of insight into the Eagles. I'm curious where he feels the Eagles are at now, coming off a very difficult defeat at the Cowboys. I've been one to say that I think the drama is a little bit overplayed in terms of how it impacts the team, but it's hard to avoid. We talk about it every week. A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, a love triangle or a hate triangle, whatever you want to call it. It is something that has been a distraction for at least us in the media all season long. Adam and I will talk about it next on The Grid.
oh boy, oh boy. This is not going to go away, folks. This betting scandal that involved Terry Rozier, that involved Jonte Porter last year, and then obviously with Chauncey Billups getting involved and stuff like that, this is not going away. This is not good. And this is not the end of this scandal.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They loved Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Back on GTD, Mike Blue. We're going to welcome in Adam Kaplan here in 1 second. Very quick update. 17 seconds left. Celtics up 111-110 on the Pistons. Cade Cunningham just shot a 3, airballed it. The Pistons caught it. Got the rebound, and it didn't even hit rim. So timeout, and they'll have the ball. 9 seconds left on the shot clock. Cade Cunningham, 38 tonight, with Jaylen Brown trying to match him with 33 points. So a good one in Boston to start off the NBA action. And let's talk NFL action with our guy Adam Kaplan. Is here on the grid just about every day talking football. Good to see you as always, Adam. You'll be on tomorrow, and you're here with me tonight to talk. We got a chance to talk the other 3 Thursday games. So I want to start it off with the Friday game.
Sure.
Get your insight into the Eagles. They're laying 7 points. Despite the Bears being an 8-3 division leading team, 44.5 is the total. Look, Philly's coming off a very difficult loss, blowing a 21-point lead to a rival team like that. But they have a championship pedigree. I expect them to bounce back pretty nicely. Do you?
I don't know about that, Mike. They blew that game last week. They should have won that game. They moved the ball in the air. They can't run the ball to save their life. I mean, it is unbelievable that Saquon Barkley, Mike.
Yeah.
He's on pace for only 1,057 yards, which is nearly 1,000 yards fewer than last season. It's true.
Crazy.
I mean, it's really hard to believe. They cannot run the ball at all. They did pass the ball pretty well last week, although they had some pass protection problems. And Lane Johnson, the right tackle, is done for several weeks with the Lisfranc sprain. Now they're hopeful that he'll be back for early in the playoffs. But the bottom line is, Mike, you would think the defending Super Bowl champs would bounce back. I hear you. But I think this number's misplaced at -7. I just don't see it. The Bears have won 4 in a row, 8 out of 9, playing outstanding football. They have a bunch of injuries at linebacker. I get that. And they barely beat the Steelers last week.
Yep.
But the Eagles are not playing great football, and they've got some injuries in their secondary, which are concerning. I would have made this number, Mike, the Eagles 3.5, not 7. I don't know where the heck they're getting 7. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, 7 is, I think, a telling number for how the market sees the Bears. Despite everything that you said, they force a lot of turnovers. they have a negative point differential, so they won a lot of close games. So at 8-3, they're minus 3-point differential. I think the market is just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Frankly, the Steelers are a team like that, where if they're not forcing turnovers, they're not winning. The Jaguars are a little bit like that. But, Caleb is elusive. He extends plays, and they makes a lot of third down plays. He did against the Steelers as well. But I hear you. So, all right, there's offensive line issues, injuries to it, obviously, in Philly. They're a little banged up on D. Give me some insight as to the drama. A.J. Brown has a big performance the other day. We don't hear much about it for a couple of days, but they're licking their wounds on having lost the game. So where do you think that stands now? Are we just biding our time until the offseason when they settle this once and for all?
Yeah, I'd be stunned if he's with the team next year, to be honest with you, based on everything I've heard for several months now. There's a disconnect between the quarterback and the receiver. And it's really interesting because, Mike, they were so looking forward to playing together. You know how great they were in 2022 after the trade when Brown was acquired from the Titans, but they're just not on the same page. Now, last week they really were. And the Eagles, Mike, last week, and we'll get to the Bears in a minute because I got a lot of stuff on them. But the Eagles, Mike, had 14 accepted penalties. They also had a 15th, but that was negated because there were offsetting penalties with the Cowboys. So it was a nightmare. They moved the ball really well early in the second half. Penalties, defensive penalties. Cooper DeJean, Mike, and this is going to be interesting to see what they do in this game. And Dory Jackson's been cleared out of, he didn't have a concussion. He had a head injury. He's fine. He didn't play great, and he's not had a good year. Cooper DeJean, their nickel defender, was moved to corner. He didn't play well. He gave up a number of big plays. And let's get to the Bears for a second here before we move on to the other games. They could go heavy 12 personnel with the two tight ends, with Loveland, who's terrific, who's been really coming on, the rookie tight end in the first rounder, with Komet. And you got Udunze, and you got DJ Moore. And Luther Burden, I'm told, has really picked up the offense lately. They feel they're confident. Ben Johnson's really confident in him. And the one big thing I'm told is Caleb Williams is starting to get it together over the middle, where he wasn't so sure. They roll him out a lot. He's more confident in Ben Johnson's offense. And this is a West Coast offense, by the way. He's playing really good football right now. And the thing is, they only have 8 turnovers. They've recorded the most turnovers at 26, best turnover differential on your point. They do win close games. I just don't understand, again, as we send it back to you, why the Eagles would be a 7-point favorite based on what they're playing.
Yeah, I get it. The Bears, you have to give them credit at some point. People are looking to poke holes, but I think what you said is the most encouraging thing about them is that Caleb Williams is progressing. And it doesn't mean he's an all-pro yet, but he is progressing along in this offense. And having the quarterback and the head coach aligned is, frankly, the single most important thing in the sport. So if they can get on the same page this year and win 10 games, it gives them an interesting launching pad into what's a very tough division, right? The Packers and the Lions aren't going away next year. So I think that's really important, is to be able to battle those divisional opponents. Speaking of divisional opponents, let's talk about tomorrow night's game. Joe Burrow returning for the Bengals, taking on a Ravens team that, again, laying 7 points here, divisional matchup. We haven't seen Burrow in months. We have seen Lamar, but this offense isn't clicking the way they want it to in Baltimore. So give me a little bit on Joey B first.
Yeah, so Burrow, he had a significant turf toe injury. He's back well in advance of the original timetable, so it's a good story. And T. Higgins, that concussion, and he got hit hard. But Jamar Chase is back from his 1-game suspension. Now, the Ravens, here's why they've turned around their season. And they're trying to be only the 5th team in the last 35 years to make the playoffs at 1-5 to turn it around. But they were, Mike, they had 1 week where they had 7 starting defensive players out. Any one of the 53 pretty much now is healthy. Now, Matabuki's out for the season, who's terrific. But they've gotten healthy. I know people are getting mad at Zach Whether, the young defensive coordinator, second youngest defensive coordinator in the league, but they've turned it around because they're way more disciplined and they're getting healthier. And I get it. Last week was not good with their pass game, but this is a matchup. The Bengals are horrific on defense, and they have not figured out Al Golden's scheme, their new defense coordinator. The players they're not executing well at all.
Yeah, agreed. This past week was like maybe their best performance, and it doesn't amount to all that much when you're you're not winning games. I'll say this: Jamar Chase, the last time he played the Ravens was last year. He had 17 targets for 11 catches, 260 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think you'll see that type of target share, Cap. They may not be as effective, but with T. Higgins out, I think Joey B is going to come out there and sling it. I like him to be over pass attempts, over 36.5 pass attempts, and I think they're going to force the ball to Jamar Chase.
They will. And by the way, in the Philly-Chicago game, going to be very, very windy in Philly. Very gusty winds from 26 to 32 miles an hour during the game. Of course, the forecast can change, but I just want to make people aware of that. This is the time of year, whether it's for fantasy or if you're wagering, you should know that, obviously, for totals. And also, if you're going to bench or you're thinking of benching your receivers. Now, the good thing is Caleb Williams and Hurts have strong arms now, but you should start checking the weather now, especially with your fantasy lineups coming up.
Totally agree. We have Scott Wetzel and I do in-game live 1 p.m. on Sundays. That's the first thing we do is to make sure that people know going in. All right, give me like 10 seconds on Chiefs-Cowboys. What's your expectation for that game?
Yeah, boy, the Chiefs, I mean, I give them credit. They never led until they won the game in overtime. The Cowboys are on a high right now. They're starting to turn their season around. I like the Cowboys to make it a tight game and probably win this game.
Wow. That would be a big problem for the Chiefs. I love the bold call, but it's only a 3-point spread. Is that bold? I love it, Cap. Talk to you again soon. Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh boy. This is not going to go away, folks. This betting scandal that involved Terry Rozier, that involved Jonte Porter last year, and then obviously with Chauncey Billups getting involved and stuff like that, this is not going away. This is not good. And this is not the end of this scandal.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
My old buddy Cam Stewart arriving on the scene. I haven't talked to him on a show. Cam, it's got to be a few years, 2-3 years.
It's been a while, Mike.
So it's great to see you on here.
Too long. It's great to see you too, Mike. I say, wow. Remember we were talking Blewitt. He was the kicker for the Pitt Panthers. I'm like, that seemed to be years ago as well. But Mike, nice to see you. Happy Thanksgiving to all our American friends. Can't wait. Mike, I'm not your typical Canadian, nor is Gabe. I'm already going to get the turkey in the oven in the morning tomorrow. Some mashed potatoes and gravy, the trimmings, the works. Can't wait to be betting on football. And it's interesting, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Good stuff with Cap there. Interesting conversation you guys had too about the Eagles, but I guess I'm one of those guys that likes the Eagles this week. I know it's 7 points, and they haven't been able to run away from everybody, but the Bears, all they do is win, and they win close games.
Yeah.
But I got to think, if this is going to happen, the running game with Saquon Barkley, I know he's minus 120 for an anytime touchdown too, Blue, and I know it's like one of those things where
That's
a lot
so
of tush
light,
push,
man.
like Jalen Hurts had the last 2 touchdowns. That's my point, Mike. And Cap just talked about the conditions, and I get it. Hurts can get his, but 20 cents for a Saquon Barkley touchdown, and I have to believe come Thanksgiving, he's going to want a little piece. So at the goal line, I expect him to get a couple touches before the tush push. Like, we used to bet this guy like minus 220, minus 240, right, Mike? So sometimes, even though he's not getting touchdowns, we look for line value, and I see it there with
100%.
Barkley. It's already been
100%.
bet.
If you have a player that is that elite of a talent in really any sport, Cam, and the line gets so low, it's just worth betting at some point. There was a period of time with Tyreek Hill in Miami where the offense was terrible and the receiving line kept going down and down and down and down.
Yep.
At some point, if you're going to give me a Tyreek Hill receiving prop for 55.5 yards, I'm betting the over. It doesn't really matter who's playing quarterback at that point. I see the same thing here with Saquon.
Yep.
They're missing linebackers with Chicago. There's a weather issue. Now, what you and I can't predict, and nobody can, is the way that this team has been so dramatic off the field and then below a 20-point lead. Does that really mess up the vibe of this team? Do you remember the Eagles 2 years ago, a 10-1 team that flatlined in the last 5 games of the season? They bounced back amazingly and won the Super Bowl last year. But does that happen to this team with the injuries to the offensive line? I can't predict that, but I don't expect it.
I don't expect it either. I know the Rams are the talk of the town, and for good reason there, Mike. Their defense is absolutely lethal. They just get it done every week. And Mike, the thing about Stafford is you just protect him, and he'll just shred you. I'm a Seahawk fan, as you know, Mike, and we had 4 picks, and we were in that game, and it was very exciting to even cover the spread after, and those picks were all inside our 50. But I'll tell you one thing, this Rams team, if anybody's going to take down Philadelphia, it's them. Mike, the NHL is an interesting beast. These guys take Thanksgiving off, unlike the rest of the world, and they have 1 million games tonight. So I'll hit the live board right now. We got Boston and the Islanders. This game is tied at 1 right now. I like the New York Islanders live at $1.50. This has been a real happy success story. I know we talked to Carver and some other Islander fans about it in the past, and it's really nice to see these guys overachieving. They have a player named Schaefer who is a rookie and actually Team Canada brass are looking at him for the Olympics. He won't make the team this time, but that's how good he's playing right now. So I think the Islanders will take care of business against the Bruins right now. Another live game, we're looking at the Winnipeg Jets at Washington, a desperate hockey team. They're down 1-0 in the first period. I can get them plus 1.5 with 10 cents juice. So I'll take a shot with the Jets. And Mike, it's unbelievable. You think the world's coming to an end. People are talking about U.S. Thanksgiving in Toronto. Fire everybody with the Leafs. I can't believe we're in last place in the Eastern Conference. And people are literally the world's coming to an end with the Toronto Maple Leafs. They have the worst goal differential in the Eastern Conference. They're in last place right now, and they're in Columbus. Kind of a must-win game. But I'll tell you something, Mike. These guys got major problems. They needed to come out here hot right now. I'm seeing a 4.5 plus money, and we're almost at the end of the first period. I'm not sure if we get 5 goals in this hockey game. So another live bet on the ice for you. Give me Toronto-Columbus under 4.5 goals in the game, plus 125 on FanDuel.
Yeah, loss to Columbus the night before Thanksgiving would be rough. You mentioned Matthew Schaefer from the Islanders. What's incredible is that if you go on social media and see Schaefer's highlights, it's him handling the puck. He's a defenseman, Cam, and he skates and handles the puck like a wing. It's incredible to watch.
It's just, know what it is, Mike? When they come in the league as rookies, they have to learn. But it's one of these situations where he looks like a savvy veteran. And the
100%.
problem with rookies is usually they're really bad in their own end, and he's great. That's the whole thing about this. Schaefer literally has taken an Islanders team who many thought were going to be one of the worst teams in the league. And I think due to his rambunctiousness, his attitude, his play, and his story. Remember, Mike, this is another thing, cancer surviving. He's had a lot of family issues and illness in his family, and he's gone through a lot. And now he's there and he's doing great things. I'm proud of the kid, and I'm proud of the way the Islanders are playing. They're doing a really, really good job, Mike.
Let's throw Cam a bone and
Oh,
preview
yeah.
his team for this weekend.
Oh, there we go.
How about those Hawks? I love
How
Sam
about
Darnold,
them
by the
Seahawks?
way. I love Sam Darnold, and I love the fact that he was at least talked about in the MVP race, laying a big number this week to the Vikes, who have Brosmer starting with JJ McCarthy out for this game.
Mike, I jumped on this, got lucky at early when it was 8. Now it's 11.5. Isn't it funny? A Brosner too, also a Minnesota Golden Gopher playing for the Minnesota Vikings, but going on the road in Seattle. Seattle has been a much better team on the East Coast, but I will tell you, statement game. I didn't like the way they finished against Tennessee. McDonald's been talking about it. It's time to put our foot on teams' throats and not let them come back. I actually think Seattle's going to blow these guys out and win by at least 2 touchdowns, Mike. The Vikings are banged up. I know Seattle has some injuries at the linebacker position, but asking a rookie quarterback to come in and deliver, I just don't think they're going to score a lot. I think Seattle covers the number here and gets it done.
And you've had Seattle, I think the first team in NFL history, at least since the merger, to have 3 30-point first halves. I like Seattle to go over their first half team total and look for the Seattle first half spread. They did not cover the game the other day. I had a parlay with Seahawks over 13.5 and laying 6.5 in the first half. I would approach that again. I think Brosmer could have a tough time starting off this game. Jump on the Seahawks early. Cam, thank you for celebrating American Thanksgiving up north. Great to be with you again. Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh boy, oh boy. This is not going to go away, folks. This betting scandal that involved Terry Rozier, that involved Jonte Porter last year, and then obviously with Chauncey Billups getting involved and stuff like that, this is not going away. This is not good. And this is not the end of this scandal.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right. Thank you to all the guests today. That was Cam Stewart, old buddy of mine. George Kurtz, old buddy of mine as well. We're kind of OGs on SportsGrid. And Jimmy Christensen, again, for giving us some Packers love. Adam Kaplan, as always, bringing us the real talk on the NFL and giving us some interesting insight. He doesn't love Philly to bounce back against the Bears in a big way. And he thinks the Cowboys get the upset tomorrow against the Chiefs. With the last few minutes, we'll give you some updates and I'll lay out what I think is going to happen in tomorrow's games and into Friday. You'll see me on Sunday on In Game Live with Scott Wetzel. And thank you for all the help the last couple of days, making me good, look and sound as good as I possibly can. Sam Yarnell, Chris Kofsky, and the whole crew at Bellworks. So thank you for that. And happy Thanksgiving to all of you for watching and for listening to not just me today, but SportsGrid every day. It's that time of year where we're thankful for you for watching us. So big win for the Celtics. They get the win over the Pistons, so they cover 117-114, I believe, was the final. So the Celtics get that victory. Pistons had a chance to win it late, come up short. But lots of games tonight, too, in the NBA. You see the slate there. Some of these games have already tipped off. The Knicks and Charlotte are going, as well as Milwaukee and Miami. So we'll keep it locked here to SportsGrid. You'll have Cam, Scott Wetzel, and Gabe, on In Game Live tonight. And then the whole crew tomorrow. We got you covered with Pro Football today and In Game Live all day tomorrow. So let's go through these NFL games tomorrow. We got the Packers taking on the Lions. Lions laying 2.5 right now, 48.5, 49.5 is the total. To be honest, this is the one I struggle with the most of all the games over the course of the next 2 days. I can see this one going either way. I lean towards a lower scoring affair. I think the defenses can step up here, and I don't know that we'll get a game like we had with the Lions and the Giants a few days ago where it pushed into the 50s and we got to overtime. Overtime would be great. It'd be fascinating for these two teams that are fighting for position, but Green Bay 3-7 against the number this year. I don't think the number plays much of a role. I think you probably have a field goal game. And how about maybe 24-21 Lions? That one keeps us under. But man, like 24-23 wouldn't surprise me. Like a game-winning field goal by Jack Bates to win it. So live betting opportunities there. If you like the Lions to win, I think you might have an opportunity where they're underdog at some point during the game. So I'll take the Lions in a tight one. Chiefs and Cowboys. I've said it a bunch of times over the last 2 days. I like the Chiefs. I think 3.5 is a key number. You see the board here at 3. It has waffled back and forth the last 2 days. And you have to figure these are two of the most public teams in the NFL. In fact, probably rank 1 and 2. So I can't predict which way the money will go, but I would guess it pushes towards the Chiefs, and you can get the Cowboys at 3.5 at some point if you didn't already. At 52.5, I think the total is too big. I'm going to go with the under. KC, 8 of their last 10 to the under, even though Dallas is 7-3 to the over. I like the Chiefs defense to get it done here. Again, they played 4 years ago. Dak wasn't good in that game. Neither was CeeDee Lamb, but it was a weather issue. It was a slog, a 19-9 game. I just think Steve Spagnuolo is very good, especially in the second halves of these games. A second half under a possibility for the Chiefs and Cowboys. And I think you'll be in a position to go under 52.5. So some field goals, maybe a turnover will help you in that one. You got Bengals and Ravens tomorrow night. 7 feels like a lot for a divisional opponent. I think the Ravens get the win. I would hold on this one and bet the Ravens live tomorrow night if the Bengals score first. I think you can get a better number than 7. I also think this one is an under. I like Burrow over 36.5 passing attempts. He hit it in 9 of his last 10 games in 2024, including both Ravens games. That is my favorite bet of the day tomorrow is Burrow over 36.5 pass attempts. I'll throw in the Friday game. Both teams are 7-3 against the number. Both teams are 5-5 for over under. So at 44.5, it's a little too low for me. I do think it's a lower scoring game, but 44.5 feels a little low to me. Here's the way I would bet it. Bears team total under. That's my favorite bet. I think the Eagles limit what Caleb Williams can do offensively. I think it's at 23.5, 24.5 right now. That's it. Thanks, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.